Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. It's the very first edition for the week, and we've got just about 4 days of trade. But let's tell you what we're tracking for this week. Former NSE president and Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, is to close today's trading at about 2:30 p.m. It's a fine way for him to commemorate his Diamond Jubilee, as also mentioned at the beginning of the program. Quite a lot of adverts in the papers to celebrate the big man at 60. Also this week, we're expecting a slew of data from the National Bureau of Statistics, including the March inflation report. Now, FTC think tank sees modest retrace of consumer price inflation to about 16.4% as against 17.78% as recorded in February. Also this week, the Central Bank of Nigeria, following its sale of about $768 million last week to the market, plans to sell short tenured forwards of 7 to 30-day maturity, mainly to manufacturers. Now, according to a statement from the regulator, the retail, wholesale and bureau de change operators are also being prioritized for supplies. A total of well, notwithstanding the significant events, FX rates weakened for most part of last week to 397 naira, and analysts see the drive to boost liquidity trending rates within the band of 390 naira per dollar. And also happening today, the directors of over 3,000 bureau de change operators are expected to hold a special meeting to force down the rising exchange rate at the FX parallel market that came into over 400 as at the close of last week. Now, the emergency meeting is coming on the heels of last week's sudden depreciation of the naira against the dollar. Over the weekend, the Association of Bureau de Change Operators said that the development is against the interest of the traders. The president of the association, Alhaji Aminu Gwadabe, explains that the meeting also aims to warn errant traders on the operating guidelines for the BDCs. So let's start our focus on the energy markets, of course, with a look at how some of the oil and gas stocks we trade here on the program finished off for the week just ended. But these numbers that we'll be bringing up in just a bit are closing numbers as at Friday and not a computation, a weekly computation of the 7 oil and gas stocks that we changed. Notice a grey shoot from beginning to the end on this page. Corner unchanged at 33 naira 25 kobo. Fortail still at 46 naira. Mobile also at 360, MRS 39 naira 3 kobo. So that's where these equities are starting off Monday trade. But notice that we had quite improved volume traded by investors in these 4 equities. Let's quickly take a look at the next page, where at least we see some form of activity from Owando and Total. Owando, however, finished Friday's trading session negative 4.84% off to birth at 5 naira 90 kobo, with a volume of 3.61 million units exchanged by investors. We'll be talking to Olawale Olusi in just a bit. He's an investment analyst from AfriInvest, and we'll be taking a look at who's buying oil and gas stocks, if anybody really is buying them at the moment. For Seplat is also unchanged at 395. But for the week, computation for all the stocks, oil and gas stocks on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, this is the index return plus 4.2%. Year to date also improved 2.49%, but dividend yield at 2%. So let's talk about the oil and gas stocks on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. I'm being joined by Olawale Olusi, who is an investment analyst with AfriInvest. Olawale, it's great to have you on the program this beautiful Monday morning.
All right.
So, taking a look at the oil and gas stocks, and at least for Friday's trade, and for the top 7 that we look at, you notice that most of it was largely unchanged. So, who's buying oil and gas stocks? Is anybody really buying them?
Yeah, I think people are buying oil and gas stock. Yeah, if you look at it based on what Friday was, yeah, maybe unchanged as at this morning. I mean, they were not unchanged, but last week I actually saw a lot of rally on oil and gas stock, the like of Owando, Mobile, were actually some of the top gainers for the week. If you look at it week on week, and I think the reasons for that are not far-fetched. Mobile did a recent crossing after the transaction between Mobil Oil Nigeria and NIPCO in the previous week, about 90 billion naira. I think people are very hopeful. Mobil has had a very fantastic 2016 full year based on their results. Though many of those income also came in from real estate income, according to what we saw, other income accounted for a significant portion of the PAT. But revenue also grew very strongly because of what we saw mid-year 2016 when the Ministry of Petroleum Resources reform prices of PMS in that sector, and the same thing applied to a lot of players in the downstream sector. So people are looking at Oando. NIPCO will be inheriting a very profitable business. If you look at their real estate assets, as well as the fact that they have some of the most widely spread retail outlets, more than 200 of it in the country. Total is another top choice for investors. They are perhaps the best performing at the moment. Oando used to be the largest in terms of market share, but after they are divested into upstream and other mid-tier segment. Total has been doing very well, more than 500 outlets. Their PAT full year revenue were fantastic. They remain the most efficient in the sector, and at the moment both both Mobil and Total are currently trading at price to book of more than 4.5 times compared to peers who are largely behind them, less than one times.
So you're also taking the stance that the oil and gas stocks are looking good this far.
Well, when you say oil and gas, it is also very important to clarify there's the downstream players who are doing very well at the moment because of the advantage coming from reform. Then there are the upstream players who have had a very bad year in 2016, the likes of Seplat as well as Oando. Both companies are currently looking at deleveraging because their balance sheets are largely leveraged. They are also looking at, trying to dispose some of their assets. That's specific to Oando. Okay. Seplat is investing a lot into gas. That was what accounted for most of the revenue we saw last year. Production was largely challenged by what happened, the force majeure on Forcados export terminal last year, and of course the disruption in the Niger Delta. So many of their production were not coming in as fast as they could, and it affected both their top line. Both of them reported, from core businesses, losses for the year.